It's time for another episode of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth, and as always, joining me today is your other host, Paul Hayes. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the importance of advocating for agriculture and how to advocate for agriculture. Our guest for this episode is Mr. Tucker Brown. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast,
bringing you the innovative new ways of the cattle industry.
We're your hosts, Baxter Whitworth and Paul Hayes. Together, we're going to be interviewing leaders within the cattle industry.
Here on this podcast, our focus is honoring God and innovating the cattle industry. Get ready to listen, learn, and laugh as we help innovate the cattle industry.
Let's get innovating.
EP Cattle Company. Owned by Eddie Wilson, EP Cattle Company is home of Sir Rouse Handshake. Rouse Handshake is a sound-structured, heavy-muscle bull that is really bold-ribbed. So it comes with no surprise that he is a Fort Worth and San Antonio Junior Show Division Champion and Rio Grande Valley Open Show Division Champion. He is a grandson of BRC Noble and JDH Shank Manso, and is also a great-grandson of Mr. H. Elijah Manso. You can contact Eddie Wilson or Nicole Wilson on Facebook at EP Cattle Company. So remember, if you're looking for some well-performing, registered Brahman genetics, contact Eddie Wilson on Facebook.
Okay, so welcome. We're here at the Beef Cattle Short Course at Texas A&M, and we're happy to get an interview in with Mr. Tucker Brown. And we're really excited. I'm sure, maybe not all of you, but a great crowd of you know who Tucker Brown is. He's on how many social media platforms are you on?
Maybe all of them.
Maybe all of them.
4 or 5, anyway.
So I'm sure you've seen some of his videos. He makes some pretty funny videos, but he also makes some pretty informative videos too. So he covers both aspects of that. So since we're here at the Beef Cattle Short Course and we have our waters, do you have your water?
You got the water bottles in?
Can you tell us the story behind how the R.A. Brown Ranch water bottles?
The water bottle story.
The water bottle story.
Yeah, so the way we sponsored the Beef Cattle Short Course, which we love, shout out to them. They do a phenomenal job of making an event that people want to come to. And so we supply the water for our sponsorship, and it's got the brand on the water. Well, last year, as we shipped it, it was supposed to be here the Friday before Beef Cattle Short Course. So it didn't make it on Friday. We paid for the 3-day shipping, and it was supposed to be here. Didn't make it here on Friday. Call them on Saturday, and we're like, hey, where's it at? They're like, well, we actually don't know. It got lost in shipping. And so we were like, what do you mean?
That's helpful.
Yeah, what do you mean? And so they end up finding it. They're like, oh, okay, it's somewhere in a warehouse in Waco, and we can get it there on Tuesday. We were like, we need it there yesterday. And so what ended up happening, social media actually came into play on this, is that so this water company didn't want to help us, or the shipping company. The water company wanted to help us, but the shipping company didn't really want to help us. And they're like, well, you can come pick it up if you want. I'm like, come pick it up. They're like, yeah, we close in about 2 hours. And Waco's 4 hours from us, so we're not going to make it. So I kind of do a Hail Mary, and I message a guy that I know. He goes by the Cattle Guy on social media. Brian Fireball, he's a veteran now cattle rancher. And I called a couple guys, the Bar 7 people too, Cody Archie, who's going to be here. Have y'all met them before? It'll be a good opportunity. It'll be a good opportunity if you haven't, because they're really cool people. Called both of them, messaged both of them, and they were both like, yeah, how can we help you? I'd be glad to help. I'll hook up to a trailer, go grab the water. The cattle guy ended up being closer. He goes and picks it up, hauls it down here, and I mean, he makes it here on Sunday evening, the day before this is supposed to happen. And I think that just goes to show like the power of social media, but also just the the network is so important, and then just the kindness of the people in the industry. And I love that.
That's great. Okay, Paul, now we can get to know our guests. I just had to get in a quick story.
Yeah.
Well, that was great, and something I always like to ask somebody. Just get to know you, get to know places you've been.
Okay.
Where's your favorite place you've ever visited?
Oh. Is this the trick question where I'm supposed to say Texas A&M?
No, you can say that if you want, but you can say wherever.
Let's see, favorite place I've ever been. Well, some of my best memories come with my family, and one of the most special times that I can remember is the first trip I ever took with my wife. We went to the Bahamas, and I'd never been to any island like that, and just being out of the country and getting to spend that special time with my wife, and the ocean was just beautiful. I'd never seen anything like it, and we were able to go scuba diving and just all that new experience. New experiences are so memorable for me anyway, and then I get to do it with the people I love. Like that was my favorite. That's my favorite place I've ever been. People make it important for me.
Absolutely. That sounds great. I've never been to the Bahamas. That's definitely on my list of places I want to go.
Put it on the list.
Yes, sir. And then we know that RA Brand has a branded beef program where y'all sell beef.
Uh-huh.
And y'all sell steaks. I'm sure you love steak. And
I love steak.
how do you like your steak cooked?
Oh, I'm a medium rare medium guy. I'll eat it however you cook it, but my favorite, medium rare medium over a mesquite wood fire. Yeah, that's my favorite.
What cut?
I'd have to say ribeye probably.
Ribeye.
I like a good fillet, but I just love the flavor of a ribeye. Ribeye just has so much more flavor and way more for me to eat too.
Absolutely. That's great.
Okay, so we have a couple questions that we like to ask everybody every episode because they kind of shape it's a one-size-fits-all kind of question. Okay. So will you tell us about the events in your life that have shaped you into who you are today and brought you to this point?
Yeah. Being raised on the ranch definitely shaped the way that I look at things now, and the responsibility of taking care of animals and understanding the circle of life, and that birth and death are a part of that. That was a big obviously a big thing that shaped the way I live. Growing up with my parents and traveling to different conventions and learning to be able to communicate was also a really big one. Kind of with the job that I have today is a super important part. One thing that really shaped me as far as leadership goes, funny enough, it was a basketball camp. And it's called Point Guard College. And it's basically a leadership camp through the sport of basketball. And it was one of the best things I ever did for my leadership and for good for basketball too, but just for my ability to understand people and to want to work with people and how to work with other employers or coworkers or teammates. And that shaped me a lot. And then playing sports shaped me a lot. Learning to count on somebody else. I got to play some college basketball, and that was really neat. A really cool experience for me out of my bubble, and that shaped the way that I compete. And I love competition. Competition's always good. I think it makes the world a better place.
That's right. So you kind of have. Did you show when you were younger?
I did.
You did shows?
I did. I showed Red Angus heifers. That was my thing. That changed the way I did too. That was a whole nother friend group that I had of learning to communicate and working with the people who were stalled next to me, or you get to make those show friends that you see at every single show.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how me and Baxter met.
That's right.
Yeah. We wouldn't know each other living 4 hours away.
Uh-huh.
If it hadn't been for showing.
For the show ring, yeah.
But showing was, correct me if I'm wrong, but showing was a part where you got to learn responsibility. But the cattle at R.A. Brown Ranch aren't bred to say, well, which one's going to look best in the show ring. The ones they're bred to say, which ones are going to make the producer the most money.
Man, you've done a little bit of homework.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah. So yes, I can't say that we breed cattle to have success in the show ring. That's not our goal. And so, but we do look at physical traits. We're not just a ranch that looks at genetics, but we take both genetics and physical looks very seriously. And if we can have the best of both worlds, why not? So that's what we do, and that's the way we believe that our bull customers will make the most money, is if we do our job of making them look good and have the genetics to go along with it.
Top-notch cattle company, selling semen on high-quality registered red and gray Brahman cattle that are reproductively efficient, structurally sound, big-ribbed, heavy-muscled, and deep-bodied. Contact me at 903-649-9155. Again, that's 903-649-9155. Or email me at bbwtopnotchcattle@gmail.com. So that perfectly leads us into our next question.
Ooh, you set me up.
Which selection traits do you think are most important when selecting beef cattle, and why do you think those traits are important?
Well, I think the first one that's the most important is matching the cow to your environment. And so selecting, I think breed selection is important for your region. And that's for us, we say that's the number one rule of matching that cow to your environment. And if you're in Southeast Texas, if you're in Louisiana, if you're in Florida, that Angus cow doesn't fit that environment very well. And so then fertility is going to drop, and that's probably one of the most important things to us is, can we get her bred? Can she get bred every year and on time? So yeah, fertility, obviously, and breed type. Then it's just depends on. It depends is an answer that doesn't explain much, but we like them to have good feet. If we can make them with good feet, if we can make them fertile, then really they can fit about anywhere. And It just depends on our customer's goal, whether they want more weight at weaning, and we can breed for that. If they want more marbling on the grid, then we can breed for that. But we have found that it's easier to sell what our customer wants to buy rather than making what we want to sell.
Right.
And so listening to our customers has always been an important part of our success.
So what ways do you listen to your customers? How do you get feedback and information on what they're interested in buying?
Most of it's, honestly, at things like this, at Beef Cattle Short Course, and seeing the guys who have bought our bulls, for years, and ask it. Hey, how's that one bull you bought? How are those 10 bulls you bought? And if you ask, they're pretty quick to tell you the bad things. and so lots of times, if you don't ask, they're telling the bad things to somebody else. And so we like to know our customers. People like to buy from people they know and trust. And so the more people we can get to know, be friends with, the better it is for us. But then we can hear that feedback, because if we're not friends with them, we won't hear that feedback. And so asking is honestly a big part of finding out where our bulls have, what weakness is it? Where are they failing at, and what do we need to look at? Because once they leave the ranch, we won't know.
Right. That's great. So those are kind of what we call our base questions. We're gonna just talk about, what makes you unique. And so you're a huge advocate for agriculture. A lot of people know who you are. Why is it important for you why is it important for anybody to advocate for agriculture?
Telling our story, the ag industry has been saying that probably for about 10 or 15 years. It's like, hey, we need to tell our story. We need to tell our story. And what we found is that if we don't tell our story, somebody will tell it for us. And the wrong people have been telling our story. They've kind of been telling it wrong. And when people think of cows, if they live in the metropolitan areas, typically some of the things they think of is beef, hopefully good beef. But then some of the other things they think about might be climate change or methane emissions, carbon sequestration, and those things aren't those are not what we want them to think of. But that's what somebody else has been telling them, is that, cows are the problem, cows are the problem. And so that's why I do think it's important, because the people who live in those metropolitan areas are going to be voting on regulations that will go for agriculture. And whether we think it's important or not to talk to them, I would say most in ag don't. We think more and more all the time, but that it's important. But that's why I think it's important, because it's our way of life. People are now 3 generations separated from agriculture. Their great-great-grandfather had a farm, was the last one in their family to have a farm. And so, yeah, if we don't tell them, I'd rather hear them from us, from this podcast, or from Beef Cattle Short Course, from the Beef Checkoff, from whatever avenue that is. But I would rather it be from our industry rather than from somebody else.
Absolutely. That was brought up. Me and Baxter went to a leadership camp a couple of weeks ago, and one of the people that talked to us, he talked about how, we need to be telling our story, because there's other people that are willing to tell your story, but they're going to tell it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to tell it with details that they want people to believe, not that are actually true facts.
Agreed.
Well, and I think Paul knows the statistic better than I do. Is it 2% of us feed the rest of the world? Is that correct, or is it 1%?
It's something like something crazy like that. One of the really things that puts it in perspective for me is someone had this huge jar, had 100 beads in it. Like 98, 97 of them were white, and then 3 of them were yellow. And those 3 yellow beads were feeding all of the rest of them.
And what's crazy about that is, think of all the 97, 98% of people that know that 2%. How many of that 97% know that anybody that's in that 2%?
Right.
And so if you don't know anybody, then you're, like you said, you're 3 generations removed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand what's going on. I'm going to get your reaction to a video.
Can't wait.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. Unfortunately, we were not able to play the video on screen because of copyright reasons. However, just so you know the context of the video talked about people not knowing where their food comes from, and that some people, while a minority of people, think that their food comes from the grocery store.
So, what are your thoughts on that video?
I think that's on the extreme end of people who actually think that meat comes from the grocery store. I don't think there's a very large proportion of people who actually think that, but it is the case. Right. Some do think that, but I think it just shows that we have not done our job of sharing the truth. And that's the cool part, is that that's all we have to do, is to share the truth of what we do. We don't have any lie to tell. We don't have to skew any numbers. All we have to show is the truth. But it also excites me because I know that there's plenty of opportunity for podcasts like this, for platforms like mine, to be able to share that true story. There's a lot of growth that we have the capability to do, and a lot of good that we can still do for that.
Of course. Another one of the big things that reaches a lot of metropolitan area people that don't know about maybe where their food comes from or about agriculture is like your ag classes.
Mm-hmm.
My mom teaches a principal's ag classes, and basically what she goes through the whole year, besides teaching about FFA, is teaching the kids where their food comes from, how it's made, what products are byproducts of ag.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's really cool. And I know a lot of those kids that take our class that have, like, they don't know anything. They're just, ag, that sounds fun. That'll be my elective.
Yeah.
And I think that it's classes like that, it's podcasts like this that can really help to reach kids that don't know.
Agreed.
That, or at my school, it's just, I don't want to take band, so they take ag.
Yeah.
They end up learning something.
Yes.
So ends up a win-win.
Absolutely. So and we're talking about podcasts like this. We're talking about different people that are helping to advocate, like the Texas Beef Council, other social media influencers.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a legit effect of how people view or react to our industry because of that? Because of influencers, advocates like us?
I think so. I see it on my social media platforms of whether it's in the comment section or whether it's shown up to speak at something. So one part of our beef program, we sell at a store in Fort Worth, and I get to show up to that. I get to show up and I post on social media that I'm going to be there. And whenever people see my social media post and show up for that, I think that shows that it has made a difference. That they show up and they want to meet the rancher, they want to meet the cowboy, and they want to know. They have questions. They have honest questions because they're not around it every day. So, and I'm glad they have questions, and so they want to ask somebody who does it every day. And whenever they just don't get that opportunity very much because of where they live, and so whenever we're able to meet them, when I'm able to meet them at their home, in Fort Worth, they honestly have curious questions. Was they have honest questions like, was this cow taken care of? Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you how I took care of it. Let me tell you how I take care of these others that are on the ranch grazing grass right now. And you don't have it pinned up, feeding it corn from the day it's born? Let me show you. Let me tell you the truth. So I do think that that it has been really successful in making that. There is room for more.
Right.
We obviously have a long way to go. But I do think there has been that the influence from whether it's Beef Loving Texans or whether it's from social media platforms, that the effects are real.
So I'm just curious. Do you have any haters?
I got a lot of haters. There's a lot of haters, and that it depends on what I post, but a lot of times it's from people within the ag industry.
Really?
Most of it is just people telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's why it's important for me to study what I post.
Right.
And that what I post is true, because I can lose my credibility fast if I post something that's wrong.
Absolutely.
But I posted one the other day about grazing and stocking rates. And where we live, it's about 20 to 25 acres per cow. And the haters in the comments talking about either calling me names or saying what I don't know what I'm talking about, calling me an idiot, that's not true. And I'm just like, look, we're not all living in East Texas where you can put 3 cows or a cow to 3 acres.
Right.
We don't have Bermuda grass. And so there's also the thing of where hating on each other within the industry has to stop.
Right. It's just we can just like the Beef Cattle Short Course. We're here to teach each other, to learn from each other. We're not here to drag each other down. And say there was something where, I'm not saying there would be because you're pretty smart, but say there was something where you could learn something.
Yeah.
It's better for us to just work together to get to a common goal of feeding more people on less land than tearing each other down.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's never going to work because I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to be an easy task to feed more people on less land.
No, yeah, we got a challenge in front of us for sure on that. But if any listeners decide to ever go the social media route of sharing what they're doing, you will have haters. That is a part of it. There will be people who don't like what you post, whether it's true or not, and whether that's on the vegan side or whether that's on the ranching side. You'll have both. But I'm a people person. Like, I love to love on people and be liked, and so those hate comments were tough at first. But I had a guy tell me, which I like to share, and he said, never take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't take advice from. And so I've really taken that to heart. Of if it's somebody on social media that is clearly that I would never ask advice from, like, I'm not going to take their criticism.
I like that. That's
Criticism basically is advice. A lot of people
Yeah.
a lot of people refer to criticism as constructive advice.
constructive criticism
Yeah.
is advice, but
Yeah.
it
Just plain
just
criticism.
just depends.
Right. No, I do like constructive criticism. I think people should always ask for that because that's the only way to get better.
Going back to advocating and how people are interested in what we do, I think that's definitely true because we're in a time right now where people are very concerned about what's happening in their food. Everyone's wondering, why do we have fluoride in our water? Why do we have preservatives in this? Or why is there dye in our toothpaste? So everyone's just concerned, what are we consuming? And I think now is a great opportunity to show that the way beef or other meats are harvested, they're harvested, they're packaged, they're in a freezer, and so they stay fresh by being in a freezer. They don't have preservatives in them, and so they're, they used to say that beef isn't good for your heart, but we've seen like vitamin K12 being important, and so I think now is just a great time because everyone is changing their mind about how they eat, and now's a great time to show people that beef and other meats are great to eat.
I totally agree that we've asked. I don't know if ag has asked for the spotlight, but the ag industry has been clear to criticize the metropolitan areas about what they don't know.
Right.
Now that food and agriculture has the spotlight, like here's our opportunity. It's true that they don't know that consumers may be ignorant, and they're not dumb. They're just ignorant because they haven't seen it. And so we shouldn't hate them for not having that opportunity. But now we have the spotlight, and if they are interested, let me tell you the truth. If beef is good for your heart. There's lots of data. Here's the data that shows that it's really good for you. And it's the same that I feed to my family, and I wouldn't put anything bad in my beef. I wouldn't feed my family anything that I think was bad, and I want to give you the same product.
Absolutely. And another part of that is, I think, what we consider big food is different from agriculture. Big food, I think of potato chips and your processed. What are those? I used to love these. The little the Nerd gummy clusters. I used to love those. That's what I think of. When I hear
like a processed
big food. The ultra processed stuff, not stuff that was harvested and processed like it has to be. And so I just think people are kind of realizing a difference to that as well.
Yeah, because they do kind of clump us into one. They think factory farming,
right?
And there's way too many families behind the beef for factory farming to be what they call us.
Right. Isn't it like 98% of ranches and farms are family owned?
Yeah, it's 90 something. I don't know exactly but it's over 90%. Over 90% of all family farms in ranches and farms in the U.S. are family owned, and that's a cool story to tell. Ag has this great story of families and generations, and even the cool stories of first generation ranchers or first generation farmers. And we just have to, social media has given us the platform to be able to share that, where before we didn't really have a good platform to share that.
Right. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and go to our next topic and just talk about your social media for a second.
Okay.
So start us off. What's your goal with your social media platforms?
At first, the goal, I didn't really have a goal. It was more just because I liked it. I'm a media guy. I've been doing sports radio now for 11 years. I called high school football games and basketball games when it was a company I started when I was a freshman in college, and I would go cover my hometown football games. I would put that on the radio, online. I would sell ads, and that was the way that I was able to pay for my trips, my 3-hour trips back to watch my brother play football, and I got to announce it. And it took me some great places. I've called games in Dallas Cowboys Stadium and the Alamo Dome and some really big high school football stadiums. And so, and it also, that taught me, how to communicate even better, because if people can't see the picture, I've got to be able to describe it in a way that they can visualize. And so that just made me a way better communicator. And I love sports. And so from a 30,000 foot view, I get paid to talk about sports. I'm like, wow, that's like the best job ever. And now with the social media I have now, it's like, I get paid to talk about cows. Man, that's the best job ever. And it passes. I call it the eye test. Like, what's the eye test? You get paid to do the podcast. Like, man, it's like the best job ever. And so that's it just started for fun. And when I found that there was opportunity for maybe selling an ad, or that people wanted to be a part of the platform that I was building, then I created a business. I didn't start out thinking that it would be a business. It was just me having a lot of fun with media. I love comedy. I love making people laugh. And now I can combine my passions of comedy, media, and ranching. And I guess I started in the spring of 21, April of 21, basically. February, April, somewhere in there. But for 4 years, I've been able to just combine the three things that I love most. And I think that's where people actually find the most joy in their life, is when they get to combine their passions together. And it just took me till 2021 to get all three together.
Well, and see, just like us, I mean, we would see ourselves having conversations with industry leaders all the time for an hour, and just all the knowledge that was shared. And we get to thinking, I mean, we're not wasting time, because, I mean, we're learning so much. But at the same time, we could be utilizing that time by recording this and having everybody listen to it. And so I think it was a great move to, just like,
absolutely,
we could be talking about this right now and
not recording.
Everyone else would miss out. So
yeah, that's the best thing about podcasts, is a lot of times you're already having that conversation, and like it's not like we're acting. We're just sharing the things we love, picking each other's minds, and that's where the good ideas come from. There may be a lot of bad ideas in the conversation we have today, but there will be a few good ones. We just have to sift through those.
Absolutely. So, and like you said, and I think that's one part for us making our podcast. When we're trying to make our podcast better, we always try to. Our first couple of episodes, we had great guests, but we were trying to just ask questions that we had written on that piece of paper over there. We weren't. I mean, we've barely even asked the questions that we have written down right now. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah,
but
going with the flow.
I think that's something that I hope has helped improve. I hope it's made it easier to listen to. I know it's made it easier for me to listen to myself, because before I was kicking myself. And
I think you have to go through that stage. And I think that stage scares so many people that they don't start with what y'all had this vision of starting this and had the struggles at the beginning. And everybody does.
Right.
Like everybody does, even on social media. And then you get asked by your friends, like, are you trying to start a podcast or something? Are you trying to be an influencer? And it's like, kind of. And you have to go through that battle of being bad at it.
Right.
Because you're going to be bad at it. And going through those learning stages of setting up the audio, of asking the right questions, of going with the flow. But that's you have to get through that. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Right.
That's the fun part, is that when you do make it to the other side, it's like, whoa, those first couple episodes I did were really bad. And I made it through. Like, that's when it becomes really fun to look back. I look back at my old videos. We were looking at some yesterday, and I was like, oh, that was terrible.
That's right. Yes. Well, on our first episode, we joke about how, like, besides reading off the paper, the only other thing we said was "yes, sir."
Yeah.
We may make a cap someday that just says
"yes, sir."
Absolutely.
That's good, and that's what going back and listening to your stuff is, I think, extremely important. Whether it's watching yourself speak, looking back at your film on your sports, looking back at your calf crop from last year. Like, that's how we realize our weakness or where we can improve. And sometimes in speaking, especially, you don't know those words that you say, those filler words, or how many. I had my dad one time. I was preparing for a speaking gig, and I always speak in front of him. I'll give my speech to him or my mom, as practice, or in the camera on my computer, go back and rewatch it, and I'll count the times that I put a filler word in, like or like or And I remember the first time I listened to it, and I was sorry, I didn't know I said that many times.
When I mean, I had no clue. Because I would, not on purpose, but just kind of general habit, I would interrupt Doctor
Long.
Dr. Long
Mhm.
just by saying yes, sir, just agreeing with him. See, now I just nod my head when you're talking, but I would just say yes, sir. I had no idea. I was on autopilot. I thought we were.
Right.
I knew. I mean, I was stressed. I was under pressure.
A little nervous.
But I had no idea. When I went back and edited it and stuff, I was like, oh, I went ahead and published it because I didn't want to do Dr. Long a disservice because he did a great job.
Mhm.
Everyone told us that, Dr. Long did a great job. I agree, but I guess
You heard it.
you don't be afraid to be embarrassed, I guess is all I'm going to say.
But our
You
interview
have to.
skills have definitely improved.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. We think they have.
Yes.
We'd
But
love
that's
to
what
hear
it
what
takes.
you think.
Yeah, that's what it takes. It's just the practice and the time. And that's what so many are scared to do. And in ag especially, like putting your face, being the face of something, whether it's your ranch or your podcast or something, we kind of try to hide behind a brand, but like people in our consumers, the beef consumers, like they don't want to hear from the brands. They want to hear from the families. And that's how it's the same way for this. Like people may like the Cattle Innovation Station, but they want to hear from Baxter. Like they want to hear from Paul. And that's what people love, is whenever they can connect with a face, have relatable stories, like go through this story with you of your interview skills or the people you get to meet doing it. That's what people love.
Right. Of course. So, Paul, we're getting a little crunched on time. I'm going to ask you to go ahead.
Yes.
The next question.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, no.
Oh, it's
Well,
just
go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm your co-host, Paul Hayes, and I'd like to tell y'all about my family business that has been going on for over 50 years now, and that is raising quality registered Brahman cattle. Our ranch is called Flat Rock Brahmins, and we have locations in Glen Rose and LaGrange, Texas. And we are here for all of your cattle needs. Whether it's needing show cattle, replacement females, or even a new herd sire, we would be happy to earn your business and watch our genetics excel in your herd. You can contact me by email at paulhayesv@icloud.com or my dad, who helps manage the ranch, at paulhayesiv@icloud.com, or over the phone at 817-964-2752.
Talking about your social media again, could you give us your best guess on what your main audience is, and maybe what audience you want to reach the most?
Yeah. So I, just like us talking about going back and looking at old videos, like it's important for me to see my statistics and the people where they're viewing it and how many. So I have a little over 600,000 followers. I'm getting close to 700,000 on all the platforms that I have.
Just a couple.
Just got a few, and those most of those followers, they actually are, most of them in Texas. Not most. The biggest percent is from Texas, but they come from Dallas, San Antonio, the other big cities that mostly from big cities, Atlanta, well, one in Arizona. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, one big one in Arizona. New York City is another big one. And I don't know why it happens to be those places. I mean, I know it happens to be in Texas just because those are the places I visit most. There's the most people I know. But they do tend to be from the larger cities. So I like to think it's people who are on the edge of agriculture. So they live in the suburban areas of the metropolitan areas, and they do drive by a cow every now and then. And so they're just in touch with ag enough to like want to know more, is my thought. But then you think of New York City, like there's not There's not much. There's not a cow in New York City. I mean, there might be one, but there's not many, and so it's hard to say, what my followers do, but I do think they are not in the ag industry. I know I do have a lot of ag followers because when I come to things like this, when people come up to our booth, like that's the first thing they say is, "I've seen you on social media," so they see it. But what I found is that if I am trying to reach the consumer, that I reach our bull customers along the way. But if I just try to reach our bull customers, I won't really reach the consumer.
Right.
And so I've had to change the way that I tell my story in a way that our consumer understands. Now, if I start talking about the difference between a cow and a heifer, y'all too know that difference. But if I'm telling a consumer that story still passes you, even though you already know it, you still hear it. You still hear it. So but if I start talking in lingo to you and I, we're the only ones that understand that lingo, and we start talking about yearlings or four weights or average daily gain or some EPDs. Yeah, you start talking about it. What's their birth weight EPD? Our consumer's going to say a what now? An EPID?
Or the funniest one is AI.
Yeah, you use AI for years.
So our congressman, Congressman Moran, he's been on the podcast before. He came to our town one time and was, doing his, talking to his constituents, and they were going to show him an AI demonstration, and he thought, AI, artificial intelligence. They showed him artificial insemination demonstration.
Oh, that's
He was
great.
a little confused for a second.
I
But he
can see
learned
why.
something.
Yeah.
He knows.
I can see why. But the consumer is the person I try to reach, because I can reach the bull customer along the way, the ag industry along the way, and still reach the consumer.
So, in that, you kind of answered what I was going to ask you next, is how did you grow your social media? Because I know it's hard, maybe hard for a lot of people to grow, to reach a huge mass of people. And I know you trying to reach the consumer and getting people along the way. I didn't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, advice helps us too, because
Right. And a podcast is different, I believe, from social media. Like the platform is different. What you talk about is different. This is long form. Instagram tends to be short form, or TikTok or Facebook. So it's a little harder. It's harder to grow fast on a podcast than it is maybe an app. But on the apps, the thing that's helped me the most, that maybe stuff that some in the ag industry don't like, is that I find that my platforms do the best whenever I combine things that are going on today and agriculture. So when the golf Masters was going on, I was trying to figure out how can I mix golf and ranching? How does that go together? So I made a video about, kind of a funny video about how both ranching and golf both really care about grass. We do both really care about the grass. They're caring about the greens, and we're caring about the green we got in our pasture. And so it was a video about
future state.
Yeah. And so I made a funny video about hitting a golf ball into a cow patty, and then in the caption, it was like, "Hey, just like Rory McIlroy's reading the greens, ranchers are reading their pastures every day and making sure they're not overgrazing. It's important for carbon sequestration and our soil health. And better soil health means happier cows, means the ranch stays in the family longer, and it's a win-win-win." And so that's where I have the most success of reaching more people, because it puts it in people's algorithms who are watching what's going on. And most people are, when the Super Bowl's on, I'm going to be talking about the Super Bowl and ranching. When president elections are going on, I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be blending somehow presidential elections and ranching. So that's how I tend to reach the most people, because they're more willing to listen to that. And comedy helps too. I think more, if you're able to laugh at it, I think you're able to learn a lot faster. When somebody gives you some constructive criticism and you're able to laugh at yourself, that, hey, yeah, I did say yes, sir, a lot.
Right.
When you're able to laugh at yourself like that, that helps you improve so much faster. And that's what I like about comedy and humor, is that we can kind of heal through that process and get better through it whenever we can laugh about it.
I make short jokes all the time, so
Yeah.
you can ask Paul. Typically after he makes one, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, we need to go and wrap this episode up. We'll be back with another one. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep innovating the cattle industry. Signing off.
Hello, guys. Thank you for listening to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. We want to make this podcast better. So if you would, please like this episode and leave us feedback in the comment section. Something else that helps make this podcast better is when you respond to the polls. So if you're able, please respond to our polls. Help us make this podcast as good as possible. Thank you, God bless, and have a good day.
Thank you for listening to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
We're your hosts, Baxter Whitworth.
And Paul Hayes.
Remember our key verse, Proverbs 16:3.
Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans.
Thank you for listening.